Welcome to Expeditions in Light. Let's take an expedition into the beauty of a rose. For those who have not explored still life photography and flash, I encourage you to do so. There's nothing more satisfying than taking a flash, taking an object, and creating something from your mind. I had this idea of hanging a rose by fishing wire and getting two different backgrounds, basically with the same setup. Join me on this expedition where we create a black and white background and take advantage of the beauty of a rose. Okay, welcome to another studio setup. This time, I had this idea where we float and suspend some roses, and then take a picture of them in two different ways with two different lighting setups. Of course, when we start this out, we've got to get our one frame that tells us we are set up. So let's do that. And that frame looks right. Our frame should be dark. I have an ISO setting of 100. I have a shutter speed of 200. I have f8 and nothing in the frame. That means all light that's introduced here, I control. I have a light meter and a trigger to fire the lights without being on the camera. This trigger is the Godox X1. This trigger on the camera should be the Godox X Pro. That's right. So that's the Godox X Pro on the camera. And the X1 I put in a group mode so that I can fire the lights without being at the camera. We've got our first light here. We'll turn that on. We've set this to group A. We'll take our light meter and we're going to measure. And that is super low. This is group A. I'm going to go about a 32nd on power. Just to take a guess, this is just kind of a guess of where we are. And I get about 2.8, so I need to jump up quite a bit. We'll go to 1/4 power. Again, a light meter, and then our little trigger to set it off. I've got about f8 spot on right there, so let's take a photo and see if we like what we get. That is not bad, actually. Well, let me double check our focus. Of course, I'm in manual focus. We've got a very static subject, although it swings just a little bit. I kind of like that. There's enough definition up front and a little bit of shadow, so that helps. But notice we have nothing in the back here. No light, no anything. Let's fix that. This is an 8200 with basically a grid and some barn doors and a little reflector. That's our primary light. We're going to add the secondary light. Like I talked about, we are getting nothing on the top there. So I think something like this. This is just meant for the top. This is 8200 also. We have MagMod and the Mag Grid to keep that light focused. Turn that one on. We're watching for flares here. Make sure we don't get any flare in the lens. But I have grids on both of these, so we probably won't. We'll turn on our B group by itself. Again, I just want to light this up a little. So, and that seems way high. That could be good. Let's test, see how that makes us feel there. In the back. Yeah, we get a little bit in the back. I think I want to touch more and go up like a third. A little bit more towards the back. One thing to note here is our primary light is aiming off in this direction. Our secondary light aiming down like this. Our background is far away. Inverse square law. We're totally avoiding anything on the background. We're getting a nice black background. Let's bring them both together and see what we got. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. I'd like a little bit more on the back of these. So I'm going to back this up just a little. I might go up a little bit more on that power. So our B group going to go up a little bit more on power. Yeah. So again, to review, the camera, f8, ISO 100, shutter speed of 200. The white balance is set to flash, which is usually around 5600. Our flashes here do that, produce light around the 5600 area for white balance, depending. They are both 8200s. This one just has the standard head on it. This is an 8200 with a reflector, a bare bulb, a grid, and the barn doors to keep us all focused here. Make sure that no light is in the back. So that should be our shot. Let's take a final shot here, and we'll move on to the second composition. Our focus seems fairly good. We're going to leave that alone. So the fun part about this setup is we have the rows, we have our primary lighting. All we need to do to change to get a completely different look and change this to a white background is to move on. Let's shut off our B group and we will come in. And we will add a background. So I do have in the ceiling all these little clips I could hang off of. This is this very, very small room. I'm going to be pointing down to this little scrim out there and have another 8200 in the back as our CD group. Magmon Magsphere on this to throw the light around. I'm going to put it back here so it spreads out even. Get it spread even on the back. This one I will probably just go by feel. So I'm going to leave the front light on, our main light, and we will hit it. That's not bad, but a little gray. So what I'm trying to do is turn this all basically at RGB value of 255. I may not get perfect there, but I'll get pretty close. I'm going to take a reading back there. One thing you want to watch out for is when you create white, you are not washing things out. I am still fairly low on the power there. It's a 2.8. I'd like to be close to f8 in the back there. One thing to think about if you've got a white background and you're shooting from the front, you're shooting from the back, you're trying to equalize pressure, i.e. from here, or strobe here to here, we're trying to hit the f8 for the lens, right? But that is also true from the back. We're trying to be about f8 for the back, so we have equal light pressure on both sides. And that is pretty close. Let me go down just a little. Yeah, I like that. I think we've pretty much made it here. We've gotten the dark, we've gotten the light. I'm going to take one more shot here with the light. And then we'll take this on over to Luminar. We'll do a touch of editing, and we will have two examples of flower photos from the same exact setup. By the way, if I did not say, all this is fishing wire. I have hooks on the top here, which I can hook things on like this and allow me to suspend things from the ceiling, like these roses. Okay, let's talk about a little bit of edits here. Of course, first we want to establish our camera standard profile. Then we want to come into curves. Notice that most of the information is there, but I want to make sure it's pure white. I got to push this way over, but that's not needed. Just a touch to make sure that all this white here is pure white. Then I do like some pure blacks, so I pull that just a little. I'm going to pull that down so my darks go dark. And my midtones are pulled up just a little. We're going to keep the white balance as shot. That's usually about around 5600 for flash photography. And I'm going to put just a touch of vibrance on here. A little bit of sharpening. Nothing crazy. And just a touch of noise reduction. Just because this is not a noisy picture, but I keep that on there for just a little bit of effect. And we'll do before and after, just to make that pop, see how that color comes around again. Now let's move on to some other tools. We need to deal with this right here. This is our fishing wire. So let's get rid of it by getting our clone tool. I'm going to go much smaller and the strength lower. I'd rather do this like just a little bit at a time than try and make it work all at once. It's better to be subtle with the clone tool and come back and work it again. And we'll come at this other side. May need to be a little bit more, but go the strength a little bit more. Take down our softness a touch. Hold down Option. Get our sample point nice. Another sample point. I'm keeping in line here so that this line doesn't get all messed up. That's not too bad. I'll come back and drop the strength, increase the softness, just to finish things off a little. I think that's okay. Let's zoom out and see what we got. I don't think we can see any other fishing wire in here, so we will move on from the clone tool. I'm not too happy with this little hanging out hair. So I will, I think I'll use the clone tool again to get rid of that. I'm going to go small and be fairly hard around the edge here. Once I'm reasonably happy with the edge, I'm going to go back into my softness and strength. We'll use the bracket key to make this a little larger. Hold down the shift key to move it around just a touch. Get our option out there and make this a bit smoother on the outside. Just to clean that up. Let's see if we have anything else that looks crazy. Not so much. So then I'm going to move on here. I'm going to push a little bit of dramatic just to make some more lines out of this. I start to lose a touch of color, you see there. So I will come back to my color. And I'm going to give a little bit more saturation on the red. See, that's probably too much. And then just a touch more luminance on the red. See if that looks okay. That kind of brings that back after the other adjustments there. And I want these flowers to definitely stick out. They stick out already, but I want them to stick out more. So we're going to add just a touch of details to this. Our painting mask can be fairly large here. I don't have to worry about getting too far outside the line. Once I hit any white, I don't have any definition, so the white's all blown out, but I'll pump the small details just a little, and mids just a little, and large details a little bit. Sharpen that up. The change is going to be pretty minor, but you'll see it. And I think that is it for this. We don't need to get more crazy with this. You could get rid of some of these hairs if you wanted. That's a artistic choice, I think. We did get rid of any fishing wire. We do have a complete white background just by taking and pulling in that curve a touch. And that is it to get our rose. For the black version of this, the only real difference in this would be this curve. For the black, I'd pull in the black a little bit more than I did here. For the white, I'm pulling this in a little bit to make sure that all my white goes white, because I know that these are mid-tones. So I don't have to worry about pulling the white in. If I do, I can pull it in here and be safe. But the same thing applies to the black version of this picture. I can pull this in a little bit and be safe. Then come and recover with a little bit of curve, S-curve, to pull that out. And that is our edit. Thanks for joining me, your host John, on this expedition in light, where hopefully we documented the beauty of a rose. Come along next time on the next Expeditions in Light, where we find out what else we can create with this wonder called the camera.